All right, hello. We're out in nature because this is Hawaii.
Ooh, that my house is just a mess because it's Christmas time
It
and
is.
it's wrapping presents and
Lots of
shit.
WWE figures.
Surprisingly, there really are.
And I got my early Christmas present, which was to myself, which was Asuka, the Asuka figurine.
Yeah. Grandpa found Asuka for her.
Nice.
Yeah. So she is getting an Asuka.
That's a secret.
It is.
That's why
He liked. Does she have this one? So she's getting Asuka, No Way Jose, and maybe Austin Aries. I can't remember the other one she's getting. He grabbed like 3. I was like, he grabbed 3 elites? It's like, shit, Grandpa.
Elites. Three elites.
Oh. All right.
Switch it up at the last second. Anyway, that's
Sam Keola and the Good Sister.
Yeah, he'll try not to say my actual name this time. So of course, loose cannon. I like Good Sister. Good Sister's good.
Good Sister's good.
So this is our week in review for WWE.
You're so like incognito and protect my privacy.
I just like being called the loose cannon better than my actual name.
Oh well.
It's just
I guess that's cool.
It's, I mean, I'm sure people already could figure out if they really wanted to find out who I am that they would be able to.
You should.
I just would prefer to be called the loose cannon because Brian Pillman is my favorite wrestler of all time.
You should like sign your checks and everything like that.
Yeah.
Write your name, just Loose Cannon.
Just LC.
And go to Starbucks. What's the name? Cannon.
Cannon.
Loose Cannon.
Yeah. I'm gonna start.
Is that with 1 O or 2?
3.
3. So we're gonna do the weekly review
Of WWE.
Um,
This Monday, there was a little bit more hype on the 3 singles matches
Hype bros.
that. No, SmackDown. That's SmackDown. You gotta calm down.
You said hype, and I had hope for the hype.
You need to calm down. So, it was announced earlier before Monday Night Raw. I think it was late last week. Kurt Angle announced that there were going to be 3 singles matches between the Shield and the Bar and Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
So the matches were Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. That was supposed to be an IC open title or open challenge. Seth Rollins versus Sheamus, and Samoa Joe versus Dean Ambrose. So that was a lot of the
Kind of
excitement surrounding Monday Night Raw.
A hangover from the previous week where Joe cost to Shield the tag titles.
Yes.
Against Sheamus and Cesaro.
So basically, what happens is
And that's how the show starts.
Yeah.
With Joe in the ring, right?
yeah, Joe in the ring calling out the Shield, basically talking a whole bunch of shit, and then Shield just like
Awkward.
it
was awkward.
I mean, especially with how they filmed the Shield watching backstage, just like
Seth is like, go get the big dog. It felt like, read me my line, please. Go get the big dog.
it's just like,
And
can I get a cue card?
Joe's killing it in the ring, and if his first little bit had just like cut off and had Reigns sent out, I think it would have really worked.
It would have been a lot
more
more
effective. The more
effective.
Joe talked, the more badass he came across.
Yeah.
And the more feared.
And the more weak Shield looked.
It really looked that way, especially if you're in the arena and Joe's just talking mad shit, and nobody comes.
Nobody tries to
For
stop
like
him.
5 minutes.
Yeah. And especially when it's finally just like Roman Reigns finally gets fed up and walks out, and then they do the shot of him walking out, and then you see just like the little area where it's just a TV and a background, and then just everything else set up. It's like, in the middle of a giant space, probably like in the middle of like a setup area or parking lot. I mean, it just looked really weird.
It looked
and it
really
didn't
awkward.
and it didn't help the Shield.
So I don't know if there was a segment that was supposed to go on before that, and they just kind of revamped it really quick.
Yeah, just like missed that or whatever.
If it just came across really bad, like it was somebody's idea that I don't know. Anytime Joe starts the show, I'm excited because I'm a big Joe fan.
Yes.
But yeah, it was starting to go from Hill Joe to like badass Goldberg, don't mess with me Samoa Joe, and it was looking like Reigns was scared because nobody was going out,
Yeah.
and to the point where they're just watching on TV, and finally Roman says, "I got this, boys,"
Yeah.
and they were kind of like, the feeling was good because we weren't going out for you, bro.
Yeah.
So awkward segment, very awkward.
It is. It seems to me this sort of attitude from Reigns, it seems to be pushing more to me rather than the teased Dean Ambrose turning on the Shield. It seems more like Reigns is going to turn on them and
I
just
hope
sort
they
of
do.
and sort of get a little too big for his britches, you know what I mean, and be like, I don't need you guys. I never needed you guys. You guys needed me.
I mean,
That's how it seems. I don't know if that's what's going to actually happen.
the best thing they could do is have him go under Joe's tutelage, in my opinion.
Oh, man,
And
can you
Joe
imagine?
being like, I'll show you what it's like to be a gangster. And, you know, you want to be a badass Samoan? Like, come on.
I'll show you how.
I mean, really,
I mean,
it
if
would
there's
add a new
no
element
there's
to
no
Reigns,
one
but-
better that to teach him that in this era than
Dude.
Samoa Joe.
yeah, it would be great. I don't see it happening. Yeah, I don't know. So the segment was a setup that they really pushed. Oh, it was a setup all along.
Oh, and they also have some throwing in of trash talking Jason Jordan,
Yeah.
that silly bastard.
I don't know what else we can say about Jason Jordan.
Baeson Jordan, man, because Jason Jordan is Bay, so he is Baeson Jordan.
Baeson Jordan.
Baeson Jordan.
Let me tell you about Bay. Man,
It's still my favorite sign I've ever seen
They
besides
really
the Braun
need
signs.
to step it up, I think, because
I
it's
think they
better
have
than
to
it
make some
was.
sort of decision on what kind of character they want him to be. Do they want him to be that sort of like...
It really feels like he's going to be Kurt Angle. I know, right? Because like Kurt Angle's his dad, and if you go back and look at old Kurt Angle,
And I admire that he's actually seemed like you can see how
You can
he's
see
trying to
yeah,
pull up a lot of his mannerisms and his sort of
I will give him
personality to try and be this character. I mean,
because he really is.
yeah, he is. Like,
And, I
there's,
mean, he's
there's
coming across like
really interesting parallels
punk
that I've
ass,
seen, basically on how Jason Jordan just will react to certain things, and it's very subtle, but you can tell it's very much like, oh yeah, I can see, because that's exactly how Kurt Angle did in
when he first
this
started,
situation,
yeah.
blah 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 blah. So I admire the character work that he's put into it. I just am concerned because it doesn't seem to be getting the desired effect.
I don't know. I mean, he was hated, and then now it's like they're kind of welcoming the hate because he is finally, you know, being that character that everybody's wanted him to be. It just seems like it's going nowhere. He's just floating. Because, I mean, even though he's kind of injected in this Roman Reigns Samoa Joe feud, sort of, it's not really. I mean, just 2 weeks ago it was Kane and Strowman, and then before that, you know, I mean, is it going to stick with Reigns and Joe, or are they going to move on in 2
I
weeks?
feel like this is going to be some sort of weird thing where he garners more and more hate from the locker room because of how he keeps trying to stick his nose in other people's business.
It seems like...
and that's how
I
he's
feel-
gonna like get everyone gang up on him, and he's gonna overcome the odds because he's
I
Kurt
feel
Angle's son.
Angle Triple H is off for WrestleMania. I haven't heard anything else about it. They haven't really done
I was like,
anything else about
unless
it.
they rush that starting at Royal Rumble, because I mean they had the potential to work with it from Survivor Series,
Yeah.
and then it got completely dropped.
Totally dropped. Totally squashed. And I feel like now what we're going to get is Angle versus Jordan at WrestleMania. Father versus son. And it'll probably be like, newsflash, oh, Jason Jordan really isn't an Angle anyway. and they'll have the WrestleMania match. I feel like that's probably where they're headed because they keep building this tension between them.
There's also, and I think this is potential for injecting Chad Gable into this, because Chad Gable has an extra chip on his shoulder after Jason Jordan sort of like abandoned him or left him or whatever, where he's really gotten a lot more like snotty and pissed off because he's just like, I mean, I guess that works for what they want him to be with what I'm calling American Beta.
What if
is a heel tag team?
What if they don't go that way with Jordan, and they don't say he's not Angle's son, but they still have a match, and after WrestleMania they end up pulling over American Beta to Raw as well. Everybody rejoins. You'd have a 3-man American Alpha stable. Can't get enough of those 3-man stables.
Apparently. Even though they broke up a perfectly good one in the form of the Wyatt family. But whatever. Well, anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah. We're kind of going off. So that segment with Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns eventually turns into a brawl because the rest of the Shield comes out and the Bar comes out and sort of hypes up even more of their matches that are coming up later on in the show. So it's a women's tag match next as the first official match of the night. So that's Mandy Rose and Paige versus Bayley and Mickie James. And Sasha Banks comes out in support of Bayley and Mickie James. Then, of course, Sonya Deville comes out with Absolution. And a pretty typical female tag match. I mean, you could kind of guess that Absolution was going to win because they're the newcomers and they treat Bayley and Mickie James like garbage now, which makes me sad.
I'm really just sad with the women's division in total right now.
I'm much more disappointed, and I know we ranted about this last week, and I don't even remember if we posted that video. Probably, maybe.
I don't know.
I think you might have posted it just today.
I posted a couple today. So.
But I mean, I'm really disappointed with how they've been treating Absolution versus Riot Squad. I feel like Riot Squad's done a much better job, oddly enough, even though they came in looking like a ripoff of Absolution. Riot Squad's done a lot better to establish these 3 women as equal competitors that have come together because they felt like they weren't getting the opportunities that they deserved for different reasons. Whereas Absolution is very clearly Paige and friends.
Yeah. And it's been like that since,
and so it makes it hard to care about Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
You know, we get that Deville has like this MMA type background, but we really don't know much of anything else besides that.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have at this point at least had each of them in a singles match. That's somewhere. But the entire women's division, it seems like it's just being overlooked for everything else right now.
Well, I mean, it's also very interesting because you have a case of, for Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, I believe the 2 of them are 2 of the last homegrown talent for women from NXT. Because they had just recruited a whole bunch of women from the indies. Yeah. They don't really, and I mean, just in general, they don't really spend as much time growing talent as much like they used to, sort of like how you had mentioned before.
Definitely.
And it's very interesting to see just the difference in how they're treated even on the main roster, with Paige being the clear leader, and them not really giving much mic time or character to Mandy Rose or to Sonya Deville, whereas in what do you call it, in Riot Squad, each of these 3 women, even though Liv Morgan is one of the last homegrown talent, she also is someone that had a lot of experience within NXT on television, and plus I think dating Enzo Amore did help her up her promo game, so she is a much stronger talker than
take it.
Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Okay. So it's an interesting contrast to see how they work with each other. That being said, I was glad for the tag team match between Paige and Mandy Rose.
Interesting. I thought it was interesting that they did do it with Paige and Mandy Rose instead of
considering the fact that they're trying to have it's breaking up into groups of 3, sort of. Mm-hmm. So it's Absolution, which is Paige leading Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, versus Sasha Banks, who's sort of the de facto leader of the Faces, with Bailey and
I'm curious how long that's gonna last. Like, I don't feel like she's happy with that role at all.
I mean, like, you see there are points in her WWE career where, I mean, she has found some sort of level of satisfaction with it, especially considering what they recently did in Abu Dhabi, right? Where it was Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. They were the first 2 women to wrestle in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. So, I mean, that in of itself, and she was actually the one that got a chance to talk about, you know, how much that it meant to her, and it was a lot more of a motivational, positive face statement rather than, you know, I think the stuff she's used to. But I think also because that it was such a big deal, in women's wrestling, at least.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with it. It feels like they're just very vague with their direction right now. It just is like, okay, we're going to do this with the Absolution, and, you know, Sasha, you're going to be our lead face in this.
Yeah.
And it feels like that is where they left off, and they just have not plotted it out anymore.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate that I think the slot that was originally meant for Bailey, you know what I mean, as the big baby face of the women's division, has now sort of Sasha's been slotted into instead.
It feels almost like overkill the way they're doing it too, because we're getting the same thing every week, and they're really pushing Absolution to destroy everybody,
which we'll talk about a little bit more later in this episode. But
it's, I don't know. I would expect them just to do something a little bit different, instead of the same thing over and over again. Like this child coming in and out of the house.
So the next thing that happens is Bray Wyatt and,
speaking of repeating,
Matt Hardy.
They do a different promo, but the same style again.
The Woken screen and then shattering was cool the first time, maybe even the second time. But the fact that they used that to intersplice every single time was it just got exhausting after a while.
The promo like this was the first time around was cool.
Yeah.
When they did it. I really feel that this week they should have had some sort of encounter. Like, I mean, why wait?
The whole Matt Hardy Woken thing, I mean, is they've been really lucky in the sense that it's sort of,
the fans have been waiting.
Yeah, it's sort of something they've already had in their pocket for a while now as a possibility, and now that they're getting to go with it, I think that they're just sort of being like, oh well, now we got this rolling. We won't worry about it for a while. It's unfortunate because it seems a little bit lazy, but to their credit, especially Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy are charismatic enough with these characters that I think that it won't hurt the two of them within this encounter or lack thereof.
I really feel though that like we should see Bray in the ring getting wins, and Matt maybe spooking him, just showing up and just
I think that would be wonderful. I think that would be wonderful. Yes.
And just, kind of berating him, when Bray wins and he gets on the mic, he's like, "Delightful, Bray. That was wonderful."
Incredible.
And really showing him getting under Wyatt's skin for a change.
Yeah,
kind of have the tables reversed.
It would be cool because
it would be more interesting than what they're doing.
They
right
both
now.
acknowledge the fact that they are the other half of each other, the yin to the yang. So why not? Why not have Woken Matt use a lot of the same tactics that Bray Wyatt has, but a little bit differently, rather than being weird and intimidating, being like, yes, wonderful. I'm so glad that I finally found a worthy adversary.
Yeah.
So, like, it would be cool.
It would be very cool.
And it would build up both these guys. So. And why would you not want to do that?
Maybe they will end up doing that. I don't know, but it would be better TV. I mean, you have 3-hour show, and so much of it is just repeated and replays.
Yeah. But we do get little bits of storyline, like Enzo Amore talking to his belt, and then Drew Gulak showing up, and then Enzo accidentally says Nia Jax's name. You got to be ready for whoever takes the title, or I'm ready for anyone, whether it be Cedric Alexander or Noam Dar or Tony Nese or Nia Jax or.
It's like Nia,
and they're like, "Did you just say Nia Jax?" No, you did. You totally just said Nia Jax. Why would you say Nia Jax? She's not even on the 205 roster.
It's interesting that they're playing Gulak as this stupid.
I love this.
It's almost like a face tease, and
yes, and you see a little bit more of it later on in the show.
I don't know what they're going to do, especially since and I think we have to address the elephant in the room, Rich Swann being suspended,
which was really disappointing to me.
And yet at the same time,
is indicative of a whole nother can of worms in the world of professional wrestling. That you unfortunately
when I first heard
hear a whole lot about.
It sounded a lot worse than it is. I don't know.
I mean, it really. Well, we'll see. I mean, but definitely, I think respect.
That's why he's suspended and not fired.
Yeah, I respect that this is something that the WWE didn't take lightly.
No.
Especially in this day and age. Right. I think it's definitely still hugely disappointing. Mm-hmm. Either way, regardless of whether or not innocence or guilt or anything like that. But like I said, it is sort of indicative of a larger problem in the world of professional wrestling that
very much so
that people don't really talk about, because his wife Su Yung is herself a professional wrestler.
And I think the more recent thing that's happened like this is what was the other dude that turned announcer that was just
Otunga?
Yeah, Dave Otunga.
Yeah, with the divorce proceedings and stuff. Where
did they fire him, or
he was suspended
indefinitely.
And that whole the alligator, the restraining order that was taken out, or the order of protection, that eventually was dropped.
So it is a serious thing, though. I mean, especially in professional wrestling.
And it's definitely something, and there's other stories that you hear about too with and Michael Elgin, how he's.
I haven't heard this one.
Oh, it makes me very sad. So there's an allegation about Michael Elgin. I don't know how true it is. If it's true, that's really disappointing. If not, then also disappointing that someone would go through such lengths. But I mean, why? Who cares that much about Michael Elgin and destroying his career if things like that aren't true? So basically, what happened was there was this woman that reached out to him and said, one of your performers sexually assaulted me. And basically, he said, you settle that with him. That's not my problem. I mean, I guess technically that's not false.
True.
But I mean, then he just started being like, whoa. He just started being really sort of, I guess, aggressive towards this woman. And then he also trash talked Jeff Cobb, which makes me dislike him now because Cobb is my guy. And you're just like, Jeff Cobb's just young and arrogant. He doesn't know what he's doing. And when Japan asked me if I want to tag with him again or if he should be on any other tours, I'm gonna tell him no.
Wow.
I'm just like, yeah. It's just very weird.
Yeah, you don't want to really burn bridges at this point in your career, I would think, because I mean, it's not like he's in WWE for life.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows where
We'll
that
see.
road goes?
Yeah. I do think that I liked that they didn't specifically address why he was suspended. But they did talk about, you know, his opportunity was revoked, so now they have a second chance Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, so
and that was between Tony Nese, Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, and Arya Daivari.
Yeah. And I don't know, like a part of me, I kind of figured, what was his name?
Who?
Forgot his name already. The guy who won it.
Oh, Cedric Alexander.
Cedric Alexander. I kind of figured Cedric would win. Part of me is like, did they
love
just go,
Cedric.
oh, Rich Swann's out, put Cedric in? Or,
which I honestly am concerned that might be sort of the frame of mind, because they are very similar in character, where they are super charismatic, kind of uphill battle.
Well, they're so
unfortunately, Cedric Alexander has never really gotten his shot before.
Yeah. I prefer Cedric to Rich Swann, actually.
Super talented. Way more charismatic than anyone gives him credit for him.
I was kind of hoping for a Cedric Swann match. But
we'll see.
I kind of fear that it was just like, throw in the other black guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
hopefully he can use this to his advantage. I think he stands a lot more of a chance at actually winning and beating Enzo Amore than I think, unfortunately, Rich Swann would have been given.
I kind of thought like Nice or Daivari was going to win, so that Gulak would move on. Yeah, and Gulak would move on. They really tease a face turn against Enzo. It could have bought them more time if they'd done it that way. But
so the next actual
match went really long though.
That wasn't even actually the next match.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Because that match was so long, and I got bored of it, honestly.
I'm a big fan of Mustafa Ali. I'm a big fan of Cedric Alexander, and a big fan of Tony Nese's music.
I like Nese. I'm really a big fan of Tony.
The premier athlete, as he's called on the streets.
Yeah. He would have
if
so
he was
much
going
of a career if he was like 6 inches taller.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
It's true.
If he was 6 inches taller, he would already be in like the IC division, or he would be up there.
Yeah, definitely.
He's super talented.
I mean, they did offer. William Regal went to Evolve to offer him a contract. So.
And then he come over and stood next to someone that was 6 foot tall.
You can't teach that.
Do you want to play the phone?
So the next match that happened was Finn Balor versus the other member of the Miz Taraj, Curtis Axel, and the neck brace is off. I texted you that. Did you get it?
I saw it and I was like, no, I haven't watched yet.
The neck brace is off. Which I was totally stoked about. I like Curtis Axel.
Because I'm a huge Curtis Axel fan, and I really wanted to, want to see Axel win some.
There was no way.
Just stay inside.
Oh.
Of course you are.
But it was it was a pretty typical match. Whoa! Oh, it's a chair.
She's bringing out a chair.
So it was a pretty typical match. I mean, you could kind of guess from early on that Curtis Axel was gonna get beaten by Finn Balor.
It was a given.
Yeah, but I mean, I liked this sort of whole thing where he took off the neck brace, and he was just like, ha 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 ha.
And
you thought I couldn't fight.
And then he
no, you still
kicked
couldn't
the shit out of him for a little bit.
Did.
Watch your feet on the screen. And then at the end, he hurts his neck.
Yeah.
So next week he'll be back in neck breaks.
Karmic Justice or something. But so the next thing they have Kane calling out Braun Strowman. And then saying that he's gonna be the one to fight Lesnar at Royal Rumble.
It was
sure.
really a throwback to like Saturday morning superstars.
Yeah.
These little promos that they were doing, and especially Braun's.
And it was very much just right up in their face.
Yeah, it was such a strange night. Like,
I did like
it
how
wasn't bad.
he said they were gonna step into the abyss.
It wasn't.
Oh my god! I started fake laughing and now I'm real
It
laughing.
wasn't bad, but it was just odd. It was odd. It was an odd night. Like, somebody was high.
It worked. I mean, I thought.
I don't know who.
I thought
writing,
that back and forth between
who's writing Raw.
Strowman. I have no idea. Between Strowman and Kane, I thought that kind of worked. I liked it.
It did, because this feud is so corny and cartoony.
But of course, it's going to be a triple threat. It's going to be.
Is that what you think they'll do?
It's going to be Kane versus.
They'll announce it next Monday, or they'll announce it next Sunday night at like 2 a.m. on Twitter or some shit.
Kane versus Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, because it ended in a double countout.
What do you think they'll do with that?
I say Kane eats the pin.
From Lesnar.
Yes.
Man, take the title off Brock. It's lost.
Please.
It's lost all of its.
Nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
now.
It's meaningless now.
The
Lesnar's...
last good match that Lesnar had wasn't even for the title. It was at Survivor Series when his title wasn't even on the line. It was a great match, though. My God.
It don't make any sense.
Pepper Jack wants out too.
No, you can't come out.
Pepper Jack wants answers.
So what's
the next match was Rollins versus Sheamus. Sheamus allegedly just sort of working through lingering neck issues, but still taking a lot of neck abuse.
Yeah, like apparently they've really been laid back on him at the house shows. Mm-hmm. Like he hasn't been taking any bumps.
He's been taking far fewer bumps. So Cesaro pretty much just getting worked
and saving it up for apparently the TV shows.
Yeah,
and so. Props to Sheamus for working through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame, but it's also indicative of the fact that there's stop. But it's also indicative of the fact that there's not really any other tag teams that can go
pushed, right? You know what I mean? There's the Good Brothers.
Yeah, who are unfortunately being pissed away.
God damn, who else is there on Raw?
And I mean, the Revival are still
almost back?
Yeah, they're still on injury technically. I think they're like,
but it's
minutes away.
It's so crazy because all right, so
I would love for them to come and interfere and like make their re-debut that way.
Something. I would have exactly
bring up AOP.
I would have
already. God.
I would have put the Revival with the Good Brothers, actually, and made a big 4-man stable and had it where any of them could tag at any point.
Just have Scott Dawson be Machine Gun's little brother.
Why not? Throw in Arn Anderson and be like, I don't know, man. Yeah. He tweeted something like that, right?
He did? And after the Kurt Angle thing.
Carl be like, Uncle Arn, what's this shit I hear? And he'd be like, a lot of beers, a lot of nights on the road. hanging
out with Ric Flair.
He's from North Carolina, right? Dawson. So who knows?
Does Dawson use a spine buster? Because my God, he should. This should just be great.
I think I've seen him use
just
one
have
before.
him have that be his like.
But I mean, really, the
singles
four of
finisher
them together would look great as a stable.
I'm cold.
We'll go back inside. It's warm inside.
It is.
You can take my phone, or you can get a jacket. All right.
Yeah, so basically, what happens is Rollins gets the win on Sheamus. But Sheamus works Rollins' leg a whole bunch.
And it's raining in Hawaii. It rains all the time in Hilo.
Yeah, this is nothing new. That's why we barely noticed.
Yeah. She has no idea.
Yeah, this
was
really
raining.
counts as rain. Come on.
A good match.
It's not raining
overall.
sideways yet. This doesn't rain.
It was a good match, though.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was a good match.
solid work from both of them, who are solid
I just-
workers. So it's kind of
And here's
unavoidable.
one of the complaints I have heard, though, is that we have seen this match.
We've seen the combination
So
of these matches so many times. I think the reason why Dirty Dean had to go up against Samoa Joe and
they emphasized it. They've never met before. This is a new match.
yeah,
And it's kind of the same thing with Reigns and Cesaro. It's
Which-
something different.
which was a really good match.
No, I mean, Cesaro, you know he's going to put on a really awesome match and put Reigns over. Make him look strong. And he did. Kind of. Cesaro, he's a beast.
Cesaro, who's actually probably the strongest person.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's probably the strongest person on the roster. I would say he's probably stronger than Strowman. I would say he probably is.
At the very least, pound for pound, for sure.
Definitely pound for pound, he's the strongest.
But so the next match that happened after that was the Cruiserweight match that we already talked about, the Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, it went way too long. I think after that first lumbar check, that should have been the end of it.
But they needed to showcase all four of these guys, and I think for the most part
I
they
think
did a pretty
they
good
did.
job. But I think also like people like Mustafa Ali got their big showcase last week with the Springboard Spanish Fly, which
Yeah.
was beautiful.
It's and this is another case of we are seeing the same people every week,
Yeah,
and we're not seeing.
Can't wait
Grand
for Kenta.
Metalik. We're not seeing all these other guys.
who are
And I
unfortunately
don't even
being,
know who else there is, honestly, because I don't watch 205
you know who else
that
we're
often.
not seeing? T.J. Perkins.
He committed suicide. It's a joke because he used to be suicide for anybody that doesn't get it. In TNA,
Yeah,
he's suicide.
and also he's just
That was actually his taunt.
Yeah.
He would sit on the ropes and do that. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but
someone who played a lot of Persona.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, next match.
Whatever. So the next match was the IC Open Challenge. Cesaro versus Roman Reigns.
Wonderful match.
Which I think a lot of people were hoping that Cesaro would unseat Reigns.
I was. I mean, I
also
did not
hoping.
think it was going to happen at all, but I have hope.
But wouldn't that be
that
awesome on a
Cesaro
Monday
could-
Night Raw?
You know, what a way to push Cesaro to have him as a double champion. I knew there was no way they were going to do it.
That was me, sorry. I
I'm
think
hoping-
I moved the table.
I'm hoping that they strap Joe, but we'll see.
They should. I would love for Joe to have
He
a title.
Yeah, he needs a title, and you know something that he can build up.
Oh yeah, I
and build
think
him
I
up.
think he would be a great gatekeeper champion.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, this match with Cesaro, wow, you know, I think it
I
goes
think
a
it really
long way
yeah,
for
it
them to
showed-
show, okay, wow, this guy can really, you know, he can put on these main event matches, and you know, it definitely helped Cesaro's career, in my opinion.
I think it helped silence a lot of the doubters with Roman Reigns, because I mean, Cesaro could easily carry anyone to a good match, but
Yeah.
I mean, because looking at the quality of that match, you have to know that Reigns, for a good portion of it, was able to keep up.
He could not have done this match 2 years ago.
Oh no,
So I mean, he has definitely grown
improved
a lot.
lot.
Because when he first started, he was super green. Even to be brought up to the main roster at that point, he was still super green. So I mean, he has grown
he was-
leaps and bounds.
Well, he was one of the last examples of really big homegrown talent.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, Seth Rollins
Definitely homegrown
had-
because
had a lot
he
of
came straight
experience
from
in the
football.
Indies. Yeah,
You know,
and
I think he may have been in FCW before it became NXT.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
No, he was FCW tag team champions with Tyler Breeze.
Oh, okay. So, you know,
So
my
like
biggest beef
definitely
with
a lot
Reigns
of growth.
is his gimmick and
Which
his push.
Isn't even his fault.
It's not his fault. You know,
Um,
he's getting paid. He's going to do what they tell him.
Yeah, he's got kids. He
you
also
know,
needs this job.
He's got kids.
Because honestly, I don't know what kind of career he would be able to have in the indie circuit.
And I mean, it's not just that. I mean, like, we both know from our culture, he's carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders just with his family and heritage and everything. He's got to represent.
Yeah.
You know, and
it is definitely because of the fact that the Anoa'i clan is so
it's a large family
and is so
and there's a lot of wrestlers that are looking
it's definitely a legacy in his family that I think he doesn't want to be the one to be the disappointing one in that family. You know what I mean? Because so many big names came out of that family and continue to come out of that family, and I think recently, definitely, the Usos have earned more than their weight in gold with just showing that they are. This might be too early to call, but they're poised to be known as one of the really great tag teams in
definitely.
the WWE, right up there with, Head Shrinkers, Wild Samoans, all that.
Maybe even more so than maybe not the Wild Samoans.
They might unseat the Wild Samoans
originals,
as my favorite tag team of all time.
But they've definitely earned their spot as like probably the best well-rounded tag team in that family.
Easily.
I mean, they'll definitely be in the Hall of Fame eventually. What it goes from here with their individual careers, I'm hoping that they do. And you'll never hear me say this about most tag teams because I hate it when they split up tag teams. Especially because they do it before they're ready to be split up. But both of these guys are ready.
I like how you keep mentioning it.
They are so
like
ready.
trying to will it into being. I would be selfishly sad because I just love them as a tag team so much.
They're great, but I mean,
and I really like
split them up, give one a different look.
Well, I like the tag team dynamic, and it's very Hawaiian, or it's very Polynesian, where that's your family, bro. You could stick with your family no matter what. You might not like them all the time, but
I mean, if you do split them up, you can always put them back together later on at some point.
Too much fanfare.
Right.
So,
and
fair
like
points,
I said,
fair
we've
points.
said there's other family members looking to get in. That's an easy way to get in. If one of them isn't getting over on their own, slap them together as a tag team and
bring up that dynasty
There's several of them they could bring up. So
well, they did sign Sean Maluta, who's currently in NXT, who had honestly I thought a really good match with Kota Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean, of course, Cedric Alexander had the one that tore the house down, but you're trying to figure out what's happening next.
Yeah,
it's actually the Braun Strowman segment that called Kane out, saying that he's gonna crush his throat. And then it's Asuka versus Alicia Fox, in which Asuka comes out, and then Alicia Fox's music hits, but where's Alicia Fox? And then. And she's like, and they're like, let me check you. Let me take you to the doctor, Foxy. No.
Really, another awkward, weird segment that
with Absolution.
I don't think there was anything thought through. They were just like,
it was very weird.
Yeah. And then Absolution comes out. They run through that whole thing again.
And they're just like, we've run through everyone else except for you. And it's basically like, you can either get out of our way or we'll make you get out of our way.
And Asuka's like, mm-mm.
And she's like, nah.
I was
funny
glad that they
everyone
finally put an end to that.
Well, it's funny because everyone is talking about how the numbers game just caught up to Asuka, but she was doing fine taking on all three of them by herself, honestly.
It was...
I mean, she put up pretty good offense for being attacked by three people at once.
Odd.
Because she didn't even look like she was losing, really.
They've pushed this for the last several weeks, and then they attack, and she's like beating them off, and then at the very end, like after a good while, then finally they kind of like get the numbers game on her for a couple seconds.
Yeah, barely.
And it wasn't like they had beat her down.
Yeah, no, she was still fighting.
Yeah, and then the whole locker room comes out.
Yeah. Right before Paige was about to hit, I think, or go for the Rampage.
Something. And then Nia comes out. Very awkwardly, Nia comes out and gets in the ring and it's like they told her last segment, hey, go out there and clear the ring.
I feel like honestly, it looked more to me.
Like she come out and had no clue what they wanted her to do.
Well, I feel like I feel like it was
Like,
it was
nobody
more
else knew what she was going to.
Yeah, it was more just like someone had told her to go out accidentally because they're like, oh, all the women go out, all the women. She's
Naya,
like,
go.
what?
Who has not been involved in any
And
of
she's
these
like,
angles.
what? Not me. And they're just like, just all the women.
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay, I guess. And she went out
Yeah.
and, tried to do stuff in there. But I think it was very much,
And
everyone else was
everybody
already
had their
involved
spot.
with what their spots were going to be. And she kind of had nothing.
Okay. Yeah, and,
and-
she
and
looked
it looked
around
a
a
little-
few
it
times.
looked
And
a
she
little
tried to grab
awkward.
a few, and then at the very end, I think she
landed a Samoan drop, I think.
something. Oh, she was going to land a Samoan drop, and Paige spun out of it, and then
Yeah, you're
Sasha,
right.
I think it was Sasha, hit something, and then at the end, it seems like she clotheslined somebody over the ropes or threw somebody out
Mm-hmm.
or something. But then they hit Naya's music
At the end.
at the end,
Which
It
I thought was weird.
So awkward and so weird.
Especially because Naya's been very far away from this whole storyline.
Totally away from the storyline.
Um,
She's been in the thing with Enzo.
Which is very clearly set up to keep her away from this storyline.
Because if you wanted
So-
to get Absolution over, the first person they should have took out
Nia
was
Jax.
Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And then you get Nia over because Nia's pissed and is hunting them down.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know. They haven't wanted to do anything with them against Asuka because Asuka's red hot and they don't want to ruin that. But then they finally just kind of pulled the trigger on it without really. It seems like they just.
It was ineffective.
It's completely ineffective.
Like it didn't do anything for anyone.
They killed off the heat in that segment with Asuka and Absolution. That heat's killed now.
Yeah.
Absolution's heat's killed now because the locker room just totally just bitch slapped
United
them.
against
And
them.
any heat that you had for building up toward Nia versus Absolution is also off the table now.
Yeah.
And it made the whole division look really sloppy and just unprepared.
Which is really disappointing to me because I liked the potential of like a 3-on-1 match with Asuka
Mm-hmm.
versus Absolution, or have each of them have singles matches and then have a 2-on-1 and then have a 3-on-1
Yeah.
and then just
when you have this much potential coming in and you're starting to build up the women's division number wise, from at one point it seemed like we had 4 or 5 people is all.
yeah.
And now you got all these different girls. And
Was Dana Brooke out there?
Yeah, everybody was
guess
out
she
there.
must have
Everybody
been, yeah.
except I think Alicia Fox was out there too, actually.
Yes, she was.
So I mean, you had the entire.
Which
locker
I was
room.
just like, isn't she hurt? Why is she on here?
So it was just really weird that nobody is taking the effort to
I
put
was
into
gonna be like,
this
nobody is
storyline.
ready for Asuka.
Nobody
too.
is ready to book the women's division.
Yeah.
Is the problem?
Except for us. We could do it.
Yeah.
That's another video, and we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So, the next thing that happens is Kurt Angle's talking to the ring crew and just being like, all right, gotta reinforce this ring super hard because it's gonna be Kane versus Braun Strowman, and we don't want them to destroy the ring again.
It's Kane. I'm sorry, he is 300 pounds, but he's not Mark Henry. He's not Big Show. He's not. I don't know who else is heavy on the show, but it's just Braun, who's like 385 pounds.
And then,
So
and
I
then
don't
Baeson Jordan comes up and just like, I'm sorry, I just let my emotions get the best of me, but how am I not fighting Samoa Joe? I'm the only person that can beat him. I'm just like, oh my god.
that is.
I was like,
actually
confidence,
not a
I
bad
like
segment.
it, but
I'd actually like that.
oh no,
segment,
I
but
didn't dislike it, but I was just like, oh, Jason,
Yeah,
Baeson Jordan,
Baeson Jordan.
Baeson Jordan.
So I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's another one that we need to see evolve along instead of the same thing every week.
I'm hoping that even though it appears to be the same thing every
And
week, that it is a market of the.
It's kind of crazy
Revolution.
because we have a 3-hour show and it does not feel like anything gets done.
Which is ridiculous,
It's
right?
absolutely ridiculous, especially when you compare it to SmackDown.
Which is a lot
which-
more efficient.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So,
Then the main event.
The main event. So Dean Ambrose versus Samoa Joe. Remember, guys, we've never seen this match happen before. This one This never happens. Never in the WWE. They've never met in the ring. Ever. Never.
Yep.
Never.
Never ever.
Never, ever, ever, never.
Ever.
So this is a totally new match.
Completely new.
You haven't seen anything like this before.
Never.
That's about as much as they pushed that.
It's pretty bad that I don't know if Vince is in their ear yelling it like he
Say it
used
again. Make sure they know. Do they know? I don't know. Tell me.
Maybe he is. I don't know. He used to, but it's getting annoying. The repetition every week.
It's also what's also annoying as far as commentary goes is how Corey Graves is a heel commentator on one and a face on another.
All of their
make it the
all
same.
Their commentators like Booker T's like that. Everybody's like that.
Well, no, but I mean it's especially noticeable with Corey Graves because he's on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Keep a character.
Yeah, they don't do characters like they used
It's
to.
obvious that
I despise it.
it's obvious that you're the same person on both shows.
For the most part, I mean Booker T seems pretty, straight laced, except when it comes to Baeson Jordan. He hates Jason Jordan.
It's because he secretly loves Jason Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my hatred of Jimmy Jacobs, and then I realized I've loved Jimmy Jacobs all along, and I just am Jimmy Jacobs.
Do we even need Michael Cole?
I just
anymore?
hate myself. Do we need Byron Saxton at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess we need Byron Saxton.
like Byron
a little bit
Saxton.
more than Tom Phillips.
I like Tom Phillips too, actually. I do. But I just feel like we need somebody else on Raw instead of Michael Cole. I don't care for Michael Cole.
I think 3 is cluttered right now with how it
If
gets.
it was just Corey Graves and
because
Booker
then
T,
it's an argument that when an argument occurs, all 3 of them get involved, and then it's like there's 3 of you, so at least one of you can continue to call the match. What's going on here? This is not happening.
the old school way when they used to just have the.
That's why I'm glad
guy
Nigel
and the
McGuinness
color.
calls all the 205 matches. Nigel McGuinness and the other guy, which I can't remember his name, which is terrible movie.
Yeah. So
It's a lot more effective.
but Joe versus Ambrose, another good match.
Yeah, it's the first time we ever saw it.
I don't know. It went kind of long. Then they had Jason Jordan interjected.
Of course he did, because he's the only person that can beat
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe. Did you know?
And the point that kind of tickled me was when he cost Dean Ambrose the match.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose had Joe pinned, and Jason Jordan was arguing with the referee. And
it's just like-
Ambrose looked like he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
It was the greatest part. Does Ambrose look like he's lost weight?
Does Ambrose look like he's lost hair?
Oh yeah, he's definitely lost hair.
I
But
love
he
him.
looked extremely thin out there this week. Maybe he's not hitting the gym or anything, but his arms look tiny.
Comparatively,
he looked really
yeah.
small. And
Well, I
then
mean,
next to Joe too,
In his,
and Jason Jordan.
well, I mean, compared to how he looked when he first hit with the Shield to his singles run, like he looked like he cut a lot of weight.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's been this honeymoon and everything. Maybe Renee Young's not cooking for him, or he's quit cooking too, or I don't know. But he looked really tiny. This show,
Which I don't know if it's intentional or not to sort of
maybe it's the
to
black.
sort of. Well, I mean, I wonder because of
I
how
don't know.
much they've defanged him in the second run of the Shield.
Yeah.
Because you remember how he used to be in the Shield, where he was very much all up in everyone's face and just getting really close and really intense and cutting incredible promos for the group, and now he's
Kind of like
barely saying anything. He's been relegated to being the sort of third wheel, unfortunately, which is really disappointing to me, because to me, as far as well-roundedness, he's the best out of the bunch.
Definitely
he
the
can
best
go
character.
he can go in the ring. He can do incredible character work, any sort of character. He can be a face. Mm-hmm. He can be heel. He can cut promos off the cuff really well.
Hoping he does go heel, because it would be good
because
for
heel
him.
Ambrose is incredible. Yes. Give me just a little bit of Mox. Just let him go a little bit Mox. Just this much.
I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but it was a good match. It ended up costing Ambrose the match because he goes after Jason Jordan, and ultimately, Joe chokes him out.
Yep. And then we see afterwards, which is an unrelated but a backstage segment, just to show us that, oh yeah, Dana Brooke's still here. And she's got an opportunity to be the official statistician and head of research and development for Titus Worldwide. Because she's a face now.
Just so you know, Titus Worldwide's still there too.
Yeah. So where's Akira Tozawa? I miss him. I love him.
And then the Good Brothers show up.
It's like, man, research and development. You know what it sounds like?
Tell him.
Sounds like a job for nerds. And I was through this whole thing. I was like, didn't Dana Brooke used to tag with the Good Brothers?
Yeah.
Didn't this used to happen? Weren't they friends?
They've regulated the Good Brothers just to that punchline, and
Which
I mean, at least they're on the show. And,
TV time,
but they would be better used in the ring. You have a 3-hour show.
Yeah, and you have this is a tag team that's healthy.
Yeah.
Why are they not being used at all?
And so
especially when the tag team division on Raw is so thin compared to SmackDown.
All 5 of those spread apart as Braun Strowman comes streaming through.
Yeah.
On his way to the ring.
Just barrels through them.
Yeah, and everybody moves.
Dana Brooke had my favorite reaction because I'm gonna reenact it. They're talking, and then they just hear Braun Strowman, and she's just like, oh god, and just like scurries and just like it pins herself against the wall and just like watches as he walks by. It's just like, oh gosh. Yeah, Dana Brooke is making her career out of being the person that runs away hilariously.
I don't know.
Who really can tell? And then the actual main event, compared to what should have been the main event because it was much better. So it was Braun Strowman versus Kane, which was for the #1 contendership for the Universal Championship. So
which was out of the blue.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What why are the 2 of them the #1
Kane
contenders?
hasn't been around in forever, but he's beat 3 people, so #1 contender.
Braun Strowman's lost already to
right. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason anymore. So yep.
But I mean, 3 big guys, Haas level off the charts.
#1 contendership for the Universal title at Royal Rumble.
Yes.
And these guys start going at it. What you would expect from this match.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing, and not necessarily a good thing. But it's not a bad thing. I mean, it was what it was.
And I mean, to get Strowman ready to be the big monster that he's destined to become, who better to work with than one of the best workers in the business, Kane?
Well, I mean, it's definitely
honestly,
there's a few spots that was definitely giving Strowman this monster rub, I guess you would call it, because the point where they're both out.
Mm-hmm.
I think they double closed on each other, and then finally Kane sits up. The classic Undertaker Kane sit up. Kane snaps his head to look over. Strowman's still down, and then I'm waiting for it. There it goes.
There it goes. Whoa!
Do you really gotta open it all the way?
We're just holding this up. We're just holding this up. This video is almost done. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
I was just waiting for it.
There we go.
All right.
Sorry.
So
please fix this for me. Thank you.
So yeah. So Kane looks over, and Strowman is still down, and then Strowman shoots up just like Kane and Undertaker, and he snaps his head around. And then they have Kane freak out because,
how could someone else besides us do this? I thought this was a Brothers of Destruction thing. Is he a brother? Is he our little brother? Are you my little brother?
It kind of really was bad in that sense. That for me, it was like, why would you have Strowman be like this? If anybody, I would have had Wyatt do it back during those feuds. or if they ever brought in Abyss, or if they.
Hear that chicken?
Yep.
I do hear the chicken.
I think it's back there.
And
Hey, hey.
and or if they had made
Oh.
a homegrown character.
Chicken at my house.
If they made a homegrown character, like out of Kevin Thorne or something, to have fit in this group, it would have worked. Strowman kind of felt a little forced, but they both get up and they fight, and ultimately Strowman puts Kane through the table, and by this point they've both been counted out of the ring.
So now they're just fighting out of
So
hatred.
they're just fighting, and so the match is
Because
ended.
both of them have lost.
And he puts Kane through the table, and it's kind of like the end of the show, but
This is also indicative of Hawaii.
yeah.
Get chickens outside everybody's house. Get plenty around mine.
So I don't know. That was Raw.
That was-
It wasn't a bad Raw. It was a really awkward.
It's definitely a come down from
Show?
last week's Raw.
Yeah, last week's was really good. The week before really sucked.
So it's just been like it's been
It's that hump. So we're kind of coming down the hump a little bit. We'll see what happens next week. But that's SmackDown pay-per-views this
Yeah.
weekend, right? So yeah, we'll see where Raw goes. Does Raw have a pay-per-view before Royal Rumble?
Nope.
So they need to really start gearing up for Rumble now. So I expect we'll get some entry matches at some point.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So that was Raw.
That was Monday Night
and
Raw.
I'm
We'll
guessing
probably do another
SmackDown.
video for SmackDown
Yeah.
and 205 and NXT.